Hey, what's up everybody? My name is Charles Maring and I am going to be talking about the Lumix G9 today as a still photography camera along with some of my favorite features in the camera. But first, let me cut to our intro. So yes, I'm a modern artist. I consider myself a modern artist because I'm taking advantage of all the creative possibilities and technology and old world craftsmanship that are at our fingertips, living at the intersection of human ideas, art, science, technology. And I gotta say, this is an incredible time to blend artistry and entrepreneurship, especially on the imaging side of the business. Because there's so much potential. The power is in the hands of the individual creator these days to do anything we could dream of. And with that said, I want to talk about the Lumix G9 a little bit. Now, I was out in Las Vegas at the WPPI conference. Panasonic Lumix allowed me to come out and share some of my ideas and lighting techniques at the booth. It was so much fun, lots of positive energy, and I got to shoot alongside Jim Schmelzer, another ambassador, Tony Corbell, an incredible photographer who I've known for a very long time. So it was really cool because I was able to blend two of my passions, photography and lighting, into my presentations. And Panasonic was so cool. They were just like, share from the heart, share what you want, and include our cameras and what you love about them. And so it was really cool because I'm not only a Lumix ambassador, I've been shooting Lumix for so many years, and I am passionate about their technology because I found many years ago when I kind of started working with Lumix that it gave me freedom to decide for myself. Do I want to shoot this in stills, this story, or do I want to shoot it in video? 4K wasn't being held back, and I just loved that about the Lumix brand. They seemed to be going the same direction I was creatively. Years here later, I'm a Lumix ambassador and just combining what I love with the ability to work with their team. I am also a pro photo legend of light, so to combine those two passions together and photograph models, fashionable portraits live, and give back on the trade show floor was just an incredible amount of fun. But let's get into it. The G9 is a new camera from Lumix. It is a photocentric camera, by the way, geared towards the professional photography side of the industry. And I had never held one until I showed up at the Lumix booth and they said, we're shooting the G9 today. And I'm like, okay, I've got to get familiar with this then. Took me seconds. You know, I'm coming from a GH4 background to the GH5 and GH5S. The buttons are similarly placed. There were a couple things different that I had to wrap around my head, but 2 seconds later I'm shooting it and just having a lot of fun with it. You know, one of the things that's different is that the camera turns on differently. You know, I'm used to the GH5 or GH5S, which if we cut to that, we kind of turn on right here, click. The G9 turns on here, right up front here, as you can see in the diagram. But it goes beyond that. The G9 has a new screen on the camera. And that new screen is a top view LCD right up top. And I love that because I was able, as a still photographer in the moment, just to glance down and look and say, oh, I'm at 2.8, 125th of a second. I know my ISO, my frame count. If I'm shooting JPEG, RAW plus JPEG, my battery life, white balance, and exposure compensation at a glance. And so I'm kind of psyched that Lumix made that shift with the G9, especially for the still side of the industry. Because it just makes it easier. And also you can light up that LCD too. So if you're working in a dark room, like a dark wedding reception or something like that, you can have everything at a glance without looking into menus or looking at the back LCD and figuring it out. So a cool feature, I'm happy about that. My number one new feature that I'm digging on the G9. Now this is not going to be a professional camera review by any means because I'm a professional photographer and I don't go into all the little details that the camera can do. Plenty of people do that. I thank them for it because it's cool to be able to go on to YouTube and see some of the reviews that people do. I'm just going to talk about some of my favorite features as a professional photographer and some of the things that I think will make a difference for me. One of the things, the next feature I'll mention that I know is going to be cool, and I'm going to use it constantly, is The Lumix G9 has USB charging, and I didn't think of that as an important feature until I got to WPPI, and we're shooting on the trade show floor, and as you can see, we're tethered to a MacBook Pro shooting directly into Lightroom utilizing the Lumix Capture app. And we're tethered with a Tether Tools USB cable. Well, what does that mean? Well, I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to be changing batteries constantly running this camera, but that's not the case. Since it's USB charging, for 3 days straight, we shot nonstop tethered to the computer, and the camera was charged the entire time. So not only is it going to be a convenience, we're on location, we're traveling, let's say we forgot our charger, we can plug in our camera via USB. Also cool that we can charge USB while we're tethered. So cool new feature in that regard that I know is going to be helpful out on the road, but also as we are tethered in our studio and shooting portraits. So with that said, let's move on to our next feature. You know, I've always loved the color science that Panasonic has in their cameras. The G9, I think, takes it up a pinch, just a tiny pinch. And one thing I've learned is that the skin tone on Lumix cameras is just stunning. This is one of our models, Gabby Watts. She was so terrific to work with. And she has this beautiful skin tone that you want to radiate in your files. And this is just a JPEG off the camera. But look how beautiful and natural the skin tone is. This is just shooting real simple, 5600, shoot away using the ProPhoto lights, and the skin tone is just that beautiful and that simple. But I also love that they removed the low pass filter on the latest Lumix cameras. The G9 has no low pass filter, GH5 and GH5S. Now, a low pass filter is on a lot of cameras because it reduces moire, but Lumix has somehow come up with a way to create 20 megapixel chips that in systems with an algorithm that takes away any moire that we would see and gives, because that low pass filter would normally soften the image a little bit to eliminate the moire, it's still not there. So it's really cool because the imagery is really sharp. I'm just going to punch in here. You can see this JPEG. We'll punch in just a little bit further. Every hair follicle, every detail, every eyelash, just remarkable. These are straight from the camera, no retouching, just how we shot it. So I'm loving the skin tone on the G9 as well. I have a few more examples. So just models that we were photographing on the trade show floor. Let me punch in, show you the detail. A little bit more drama in the lighting, but look at, there's detail in those shadows, just really, really beautiful imagery. And so a studio portrait camera, the G9 really shines for me, both from a perspective of skin tone and from a perspective of detail and from a perspective of being able to shoot tethered and be charged at all times. Really cool. The last feature I want to highlight that is a blessing, and I'm using it every day in my studio, is that the new cameras from Lumix have face detection built in. And what that means is now, as I'm photographing a model or doing a portrait session in my studio, I'm no longer hunting my subject. And especially when you're working with models, a lot of times they'll go here and they're moving, they're walking towards you, and I find with no matter what camera I would use otherwise, is I'm using the joystick, trying to find my model, trying to find them, focus on their eyes constantly. Face detection is so cool because it's incredibly accurate. And I use this feature constantly, and just like on an iPhone or a mobile device with face detection, you'll see boxes kind of surrounding the face. That's what you see on the back of your LCD. It's searching, it's finding eyes, it's focusing on the eyes, and so that face detection feature is just a savior. I love technology when it takes a little bit of extra energy out of the mental process of being a photographer and allows me to focus on lighting and composition and entertaining the client and the subject. So face detection is a beautiful thing in this new lineup of cameras. Our next model here, Marissa Boster, really cool to work with. Love her skin tone. Her skin tone's a little darker, but just I love how both of these skin tones just radiated. Let me punch in and show you the detail here. Once again, a little more drama. There's detail in those shadows. And again, this is just a JPEG right out of the camera and just really, really beautiful skin tone. So my go-to camera here forward, if I am shooting stills is going to be the Lumix G9. I cannot wait to get my hands on one. I have a celebrity wedding coming up very soon. I'm not going to say who it is yet or where, but I'm excited about that because we will be photographing and filming the wedding. I'll be using a G9 for all the still photography, a GH5 and GH5S for all of the video. We're doing both. It's going to be a really exciting shoot. And so that's my story on the Lumix G9, why I'm kind of moving in that direction when it comes to my still photography. I hope this was helpful for some of you out there trying to make decisions when it comes to which camera is right, especially in the Lumix lineup of things. All the cameras are cool, it's just finding the right purpose for your assignment and your individual style of imaging. So I appreciate you joining me. Reach out to me with any questions, happy to answer. And through comments and whatever, and if there's anything I can do to help, any information I can bring to you that would be helpful to you, please let me know, because I certainly want to give back to the industry any way I can. This industry has given me so much over the years, and I want to share from the heart and just give back. So certainly let me know what topics would be of interest to you moving forward. Appreciate you. Have a great day. Take care, everybody.